I didn't plan to stay awake. It just happened. Sleep stopped coming to me the way it used to, gently, without effort. Instead, night after night, I lay still in my bed, staring into the dark, listening to the quiet sounds of the house settling around me. At first, it felt normal. Then I noticed something strange. I was the only one awake. The town where I live has always been quiet, not abandoned, not empty, just quiet in a way that feels intentional. People here follow routines without talking about them. They wake up at the same time, go to work, come home, eat dinner, turn off the lights, and then they sleep. Deeply, completely, all at once. The first night I noticed it, I was sitting by my bedroom window, unable to rest. Across the street, a light flickered off. Then another. Then another. I checked the time. 11:59 p.m. The air felt heavier, as if the night itself had leaned closer. At exactly midnight, the last light went out. The town went still, and I remained awake. There is a silence that exists only when everyone else is sleeping. It's not empty, it's full of distant sounds you can't quite place. The low hum beneath everything, the soft pressure in your ears.
That night I heard something else, breathing, slow, deep, not mine. I told myself it was imagination. Old houses make noises. Towns settle. The mind fills in gaps when it's tired. Still, I didn't sleep. The next night, I stayed awake on purpose. I wanted to see if it would happen again. At 11:50, the town was still normal. Cars passed. A dog barked somewhere far away. Someone laughed. At 11:55, the streets emptied. At 11:58, voices faded. At 12:00, everything stopped. Not gradually, instantly, as if a switch had been flipped. The breathing returned. In, out, it felt synchronized. Not coming from one place, but from everywhere at once. From the houses, the pavement, the ground beneath my feet. I stepped outside. The air was warm, comforting. Every house was dark. Every window looked peaceful, asleep. I walked down the street slowly, afraid to disturb whatever rhythm had settled over the town. My footsteps sounded too loud, too sharp. I whispered a name, nothing answered. The breathing continued. On the third night, the town began to change. Doors were slightly open when I passed them, though I was sure they'd been closed before. Curtains shifted without wind. Streetlights dimmed as I walked beneath them, then brightened again once I moved on. It felt as though the town was conserving energy, saving it. By the fourth night, I realized something unsettling. No one ever talked about dreams here, not casually, not jokingly, not ever. Sleep was private, sacred. That night, I tried to wake someone. I knocked gently on my neighbor's door, no answer. I turned the handle, unlocked. Inside, the house smelled warm, lived-in, comfortable. My neighbor lay on the couch, breathing slowly, eyes closed, a faint smile on his face. I shook him gently, nothing. His breathing never changed. Behind me, the house creaked. A warning. I stepped back. The town exhaled, satisfied. By the fifth night, I stopped fighting the pattern. I stayed awake and listened. The breathing had a rhythm now. A predictable one that began to feel familiar, almost comforting. Time behaved differently after midnight. Minutes stretched. Hours folded in on themselves. Sometimes it felt like the night lasted forever. Other times, dawn arrived too soon. And every morning, the town woke up as if nothing had happened. People smiled, drank coffee, went about their day. They never looked tired. They never asked questions. On the seventh night, the town spoke, not with words, with intention. The breathing slowed when I relaxed, deepened when my thoughts wandered, adjusted itself to me. It was listening, learning. I tried to leave the town the next day. I packed a bag and drove until the buildings thinned and trees lined the road. After an hour, I passed the same gas station I'd seen earlier that morning. I drove longer. The road curved gently and returned me to the edge of town, patient, waiting. That night, the breathing was closer inside my house, inside my room. I sat on my bed, afraid to lie down. The mattress shifted slightly, inviting. "You're tired," the town seemed to say, not aloud, inside my chest. "You've stayed awake long enough." I thought of everyone else, peaceful, rested, smiling, accepted. I wondered what they felt when they slept, if they dreamed, or if dreaming was something else entirely here. On the ninth night, I lay down, just for a moment, just to rest my eyes. The breathing wrapped around me, slow and deep. The room felt smaller, safer. I felt hands I couldn't see adjusting the rhythm of my breath to match the town's. In, out. I don't remember falling asleep. I remember letting go. Now I still wake up. Sometimes, enough to notice the silence, enough to feel the breathing begin. And if you're listening to this right now, if your eyes are heavy, if your breath has slowed, if the night feels closer than it should, that's okay. You don't need to stay awake forever. No one does. The town is very patient, and it sleeps better when you do too. Each evening, I prepared myself in silence. I would sit by the window, watching the town drift towards sleep. Each house, each window, each faint light, all disappearing one by one. I had tried counting once. 11 houses, then 10, then 9. It didn't help. The rhythm of the town was not mine. It was older than me. It was patient. It did not hurry. I began to notice other things. The wind moved differently here, not with force, but as if guided. The leaves whispered not with each other, but to me. The shadows stretched longer than they should have, but only after midnight. Sometimes, when I stepped outside, the streets themselves seemed to shift beneath my feet. Nothing violent, nothing obvious, just subtle movements enough to make my senses question reality. I was still awake, and the town was alive. One night, I tried to talk to someone. I knocked on a door, no answer. I knocked louder, still nothing. Then I realized the silence was not empty. The town was listening, every house, every brick, every street lamp, aware of my presence. I whispered, almost afraid to be heard. "Hello?" The answer came not in words, but in the subtle changes around me. The curtains swayed slightly. The streetlight flickered. A single window opened, just enough to let a breath of night air escape. And then it closed. By the fifth night, I no longer tried to resist. I walked through the streets slowly, letting the town guide me. My footsteps echoed unnaturally. I could feel the breathing deeper, slower, synchronized with my own. I began to understand. The town did not want me to leave, not in a cruel way, not in a threatening way. It simply wanted me to be part of its rhythm, to exist within its cycle, to breathe as it breathed. I tried sleeping for a moment, lying in my bed. The mattress felt strange, softer, warmer, almost alive. The breathing wrapped around me, slow, steady, patient. I closed my eyes just for a second, and the moment I did, the town shifted. Doors across the street opened slightly. Curtains danced in the faint wind. The pavement seemed to pulse beneath my feet. It was inviting me to join. Night after night, I stayed awake just long enough to see the town settle. Sometimes I would walk alone through the streets. Sometimes I would sit on my porch. Sometimes I would watch the shadows stretch across empty yards. Every night, the rhythm was the same. In-out, I could feel the town learning me, matching its breathing to mine, waiting for me to let go. One night, I realized something unsettling. I had forgotten the sound of other people awake. The laughter, the talking, the noises of life, they no longer existed. All that remained was the town. All that remained was the breathing. And I was alone, but not lonely. There was a strange comfort in being part of its pulse, as if the town itself held me, steady and warm, through the long hours of darkness. By the 7th night, the town had grown impatient. I tried to leave once. I walked down the road, my bag in hand. I drove for miles. I turned, and the town was there again, just beyond the trees, just beyond the hills. No matter how far I went, it followed. It did not hurry. It did not rush. It simply existed, patient as ever I stopped. And the breathing returned, wrapping me in its rhythm. Now, if you are listening to this story, late at night, as your eyes grow heavy, remember this. Sleep is not just rest. Sleep is participation. Sleep is joining the rhythm of something larger than yourself. The town does not hurry. It waits. And when you are ready, it will welcome you. The nights grew longer, or perhaps I simply noticed them more. Every evening, I would sit by my window and watch. Watch as the town slowed. Watch as the lights flickered off one by one. Watch as the last conversations faded mid-sentence. At first, it felt ordinary. Ordinary until the clock struck midnight, then everything changed. The air became heavier, the darkness thicker, the quiet deeper. The town itself seemed to inhale. I could feel it, beneath my feet, in the walls, in the soft rustle of leaves. It was waiting. Sometimes I would step outside. The streets were empty, but they weren't silent. There was a rhythm to the shadows, a gentle pulse in the pavement, the soft sway of the trees. Each step I took echoed strangely, not just on the road, but in the spaces between houses. I whispered into the night, "Is anyone there?" Nothing answered, yet I knew someone was listening. The town did not speak in words. It spoke in small movements, in timing, in presence. On the 3rd night, I saw a window open. A single, small square, just enough for a breeze to drift out. I froze. My breath matched the slow, deep rhythm that seemed to come from everywhere. The curtains moved slightly. A light flickered, then nothing, but I felt it. The town had noticed me, acknowledged me. I was awake, and it was aware. By the 4th night, I realized I was no longer just an observer. I had become part of the rhythm. When I breathed slowly, the town's breathing slowed. When I moved, shadows moved in time with me. When I paused, everything waited. I was not controlling it. I was synchronized with it. The town had learned me, and I had accepted it. I tried to sleep once, just for a moment. I lay in my bed, letting my eyes close, listening to the faint noises of the house settling. The mattress felt strange, alive, soft, warm. The air seemed to wrap around me. Then the town exhaled, doors opened slightly, curtains swayed. Lights flickered in a pattern I could not understand. I opened my eyes immediately. The town was patient. It waited. It never rushed. Each subsequent night followed a similar rhythm. Step outside, listen, walk slowly, return inside, sit, wait. The breathing was always there, deep, slow, steady. Sometimes it felt like a heartbeat. Sometimes it felt like a tide. And always the town was awake with me. By the 7th night, I tried leaving again. I packed a bag. I walked to my car. I drove down the main road. Hours passed. The lights of the town disappeared, then returned. It was as if the town itself had stretched, following me. I stopped. I got out. I stood on the roadside. The town exhaled. I felt it in my chest, in my bones, in my lungs. It had not let me leave. It never would. The nights became my life. Time lost meaning. Minutes folded into hours, hours into days. The rhythm continued, unbroken. I walked the streets alone. Sometimes I would sit on a porch. Sometimes I would simply lie down on the grass, feeling the pavement hum beneath me. The town had become my companion, my guide, my constant. And it was patient, always patient. By the 9th night, I could hear whispers, not words, not voices, just sounds, subtle, fleeting, like echoes of thought. I could feel them brush past me, inside me. It was a gentle warning, sleep if you will, awake if you must. But never fight the rhythm. I realized something terrifying and beautiful. I was the last one awake. Everyone else had surrendered to the town's rhythm. Everyone else had joined the cycle. Everyone else had let go, and I remained. The town was patient, and I was learning to be patient too. I could feel them brush past me, inside me. It was a gentle warning, sleep if you will, awake if you must. But never fight the rhythm. I realized something terrifying and beautiful. I was the last one awake. Everyone else had surrendered to the town's rhythm. Everyone else had joined the cycle. Everyone else had let go, and I remained. The town was patient, and I was learning to be patient too. Now, if you are listening late at night, do not be afraid. Do not fight. The town waits. The night waits. And if you close your eyes, you will feel the rhythm, slow, deep, steady. In, out, it is patient. It does not rush, and you will be welcome. The 10th night came without warning. I awoke as usual, my eyes heavy, my body stiff. The town was already quiet. I watched from my window as lights disappeared, one by one, like stars being covered by a shadow. The wind moved gently, carrying the scent of warm wood and night air. The streets were empty, yet full. The town was breathing. In, out, I had grown used to it, almost comforted by it. I stepped outside. The pavement was cool beneath my bare feet. Shadows stretched across the streets, longer than they should have been, moving in slow waves. The town pulsed around me, houses, trees, street lamps, all in rhythm with the slow, steady pattern I had learned to follow. Every step I took was mirrored by a shadow. Every breath I exhaled matched the town's pulse. It was patient, and it was watching. I wandered further than ever before. Past streets I had never noticed, past houses I had never entered. The farther I went, the more I realized. The town was infinite, not in size, but in presence. Everywhere I looked, the rhythm extended. Everywhere I went, the breathing followed. I understood then I was no longer just awake, I was part of it. Sometimes I would hear voices, not speaking, not calling, but the faintest echo of movement. A shuffle in a room I could not see. A a sigh that did not belong to me. I stopped, listening carefully. The town exhaled in response, slow, deep, patient. I continued walking. I found myself in the center of the town. The clock tower loomed above, frozen at midnight. I looked up. The hands did not move forward, they folded inward like eyelids closing. And the town sighed. I felt the air thicken around me. The rhythm pulsed through the ground, up my legs, into my chest. It was inviting, not threatening, just patient. I tried to sleep again. I lay on the grass beneath the tower, letting my body rest. The night wrapped around me. The town's pulse matched mine. In, out, I closed my eyes. I felt the houses bend toward me, the streets curl gently, the trees lean closer. The town held me, protected me, and I let go. I cannot tell how long I lay there. Minutes, hours, days, it made no difference. Time had become irrelevant. There was only rhythm, the slow, steady pulse of the town, and me breathing in sync. In, out. Sometimes I imagine the people who sleep here, smiling in their beds, dreaming or not dreaming, it does not matter. They are part of the town's rhythm, whether they know it or not. The town does not hurry. It waits. It holds. And I have learned to do the same. I walk at night. I watch. I listen. I breathe. I am awake, yet I am not alone. The town is patient. The night is patient. And I am patient too. If you are listening now, late at night, if your eyes are heavy, if your breathing slows without you realizing, do not fear it. The town will not rush you. It waits. It is patient. And when you are ready, it will welcome you. The houses are quiet, the streets are still, the shadows stretch. The town breathes. In, out, and you are safe. Sleep if you will or stay awake. The town does not mind. It is patient. It waits.